Logan Hayes didn't believe in second chances anymore. Not after burying his wife 3 years ago and raising his daughter alone on a maintenance worker's salary. But on the coldest night Chicago had seen in a decade, he carried an unconscious stranger down from the Blackstone Grand's rooftop and gave her the coat off his back. That stranger was Serena Vale, a billionaire's abandoned fiancée with tear-streaked makeup and a broken engagement. Neither of them knew that one freezing moment of kindness would ignite a scandal that would threaten Logan's custody of his daughter, expose corporate corruption, and force two broken people to fight for a family nobody thought they deserved. If you're watching from your city tonight, drop a comment below and hit that like button. I want to see how far this story travels across the world. The radiator in Logan Hayes' apartment clanged like a dying animal at 4:30 in the morning. He'd gotten used to the noise over the past 3 years, the same way he'd gotten used to sleeping in 2-hour intervals, checking Ellie's breathing between shifts, and eating cereal for dinner because cooking felt like admitting he had time he didn't actually have. 32 years old, widowed at 29. Single father to a 7-year-old girl who still sometimes woke up crying for a mother who wasn't coming back. Logan rolled off the sagging mattress and planted his feet on the cold floor, feeling the familiar ache in his lower back from yesterday's double shift. The apartment was a cramped 2-bedroom in Pilsen, 14 blocks from the Blackstone Grand Hotel, where he worked maintenance. Rent was $2,300 a month, which was insane, but the landlord didn't ask questions and Ellie's school was walking distance. Everything was walking distance when you couldn't afford to keep a car running. He checked his phone. 5 missed calls from his supervisor, Derek. 3 texts, all urgent. Emergency at the hotel, need you in by 6. Overtime approved. Logan closed his eyes and did the math. If he left now, he could make it to the hotel by 5:45, handle whatever crisis Derek had manufactured this time, and still be back before Ellie's bus arrived at 3:15. Mrs. Chen from downstairs had agreed to check on her after school for $20 a week, which meant Logan was paying almost $100 a month for someone to make sure his daughter didn't burn the building down making after-school snacks. He texted Derek back, "On my way." Then he walked into Ellie's room where his daughter slept buried under 3 blankets because the heating barely worked. Her dark hair spread across the pillow like ink, and for a moment Logan just stood there, watching her breathe. She looked exactly like her mother, same sharp chin, same way of frowning even while asleep, like the world was already disappointing her in her dreams. "I'm sorry," Logan whispered, even though she couldn't hear him. "I'm doing the best I can." He left a note on the kitchen counter. "Had to go in early, sweetheart. Cereal's in the cabinet, love you to the moon," and pulled on his work jacket, the one with the Blackstone Grand logo stitched above the pocket and a rip in the left sleeve he kept meaning to fix. Chicago in January was brutal, the kind of cold that cracked pavement and made your teeth ache. Logan walked 6 blocks to the Green Line station, paid his fare with crumpled bills, and rode the train into the Loop while commuters in expensive coats pretended he didn't exist. The Blackstone Grand rose 23 stories above Michigan Avenue, all steel and glass and inherited wealth. It had been family-owned for 60 years, passed down through generations of people who'd never scrubbed a toilet or fixed a burst pipe in their lives. Logan had worked there for 4 years, ever since his wife got sick, and the medical bills started piling up like snow in a Chicago winter. He clocked in at 5:47. Derek was waiting by the service elevator, looking panicked. "Thank God, we've got a situation on the rooftop." "The rooftop?" Logan frowned. "That's closed for the season." "Yeah, well, somebody didn't get the memo. Guests complained about noise. I sent Martinez up to check, and he found someone up there. Alone. Won't leave. So call security." "It's a woman," Derek said, lowering his voice. "Young, dressed like she came from some event. Martinez said she looks, I don't know, wrong, like she might do something stupid." Logan's stomach tightened. "You think she's going to jump?" "I think I don't get paid enough to find out. You're good with people. Go talk to her. Get her down, quietly. Last thing we need is police and cameras." Logan wanted to argue, wanted to say this wasn't his job, that he fixed elevators and unclogged drains, not talked strangers off ledges. But Derek was already walking away, and Logan had learned a long time ago that arguing with supervisors only got you fired. He took the service elevator to the 23rd floor and climbed the maintenance stairs to the rooftop access. The wind hit him like a fist when he pushed open the door. Snow swirled in the darkness, thick and blinding, and for a moment Logan couldn't see anything except white. Then he spotted her. She sat at one of the outdoor lounge tables near the rooftop's edge, completely still, wearing a black dress that probably cost more than Logan made in a month. No coat, no scarf, just that dress and heels that were utterly useless in 8 inches of snow. Logan approached slowly, boots crunching through the drifts. "Ma'am, you shouldn't be up here. It's dangerous." She didn't turn around, didn't even acknowledge him, just stared out at the city lights bleeding through the storm. He got closer and realized she was crying. Not loud, dramatic sobs, just silent tears cutting tracks through expensive makeup. On the table in front of her sat a small velvet box, open, revealing a diamond engagement ring that caught the light like a tiny trapped star. "Ma'am," Logan tried again, gentler this time. "It's freezing up here. Let me take you inside." "He didn't show up," she said quietly. Her voice was hoarse, wrecked. 300 people, champagne, a string quartet, and he didn't show up. Logan stopped a few feet away, unsure what to say. He'd seen heartbreak before, lived it, knew there were no words that actually helped. "I'm sorry," he said, because what else was there? She laughed, bitter and broken. "Everyone's sorry, my mother's sorry, my friends are sorry. The event planner who spent 6 months arranging everything is very, very sorry." She finally turned to look at him, and Logan saw how young she was. Mid-20s, maybe. Beautiful in that polished, untouchable way that rich people managed effortlessly. "You know what nobody is? Honest." "About what?" "About the fact that I was never good enough for him. That I was just a pretty accessory for a man who trades people like stocks." She picked up the ring box and stared at it. 3 years. 3 years of being perfect. Of smiling through his business dinners and laughing at jokes that weren't funny and pretending I didn't notice when he looked at other women. Logan shifted his weight, acutely aware of how little he belonged in this conversation. "Listen, I don't know what happened tonight, but staying up here in a blizzard isn't going to fix it." "Why not?" She met his eyes, and there was something terrifying in her expression, something empty. "What exactly am I going back down to?" "Warmth, for starters. Maybe some coffee, a phone charger." "I'm serious." "So am I." Logan pulled off his jacket, the same ratty one with the ripped sleeve, and held it out. "You're going to freeze to death, and then my boss is going to blame me for not stopping you, and I really can't afford to lose this job." She stared at the jacket like he'd offered her a dead animal. "I don't need your—" "Yeah, you do. Unless hypothermia is part of your plan." For a long moment she didn't move. Then slowly, she reached out and took the jacket, pulling it around her shoulders. It swallowed her completely, several sizes too big. The logo stretched across her back. "What's your name?" she asked. "Logan Hayes. Maintenance." "Maintenance," she repeated, almost smiling. "Of course. The universe sends me a maintenance worker to fix my broken engagement. I fix elevators, not people, but I can get you inside before you lose a toe." She looked back at the city, at the snow erasing Chicago one building at a time. "He texted me 2 hours before the party, said he couldn't do this anymore, that he'd met someone else, someone more compatible." Logan didn't know what to say to that, didn't know how to explain that rich people's problems always sounded both devastating and absurd to someone who worried about making rent. "I'm sorry," he said again, feeling useless. "Stop apologizing." She stood abruptly, swaying slightly, and Logan realized she wasn't just upset. She was exhausted, maybe drunk, maybe both. "You didn't do anything wrong. You're just—" She didn't finish the sentence. Her eyes rolled back, and she collapsed. Logan barely caught her before she hit the ground. She weighed almost nothing, all sharp bones and expensive perfume, and for a horrible second he thought she was dead. Then he felt her breathing, shallow but steady, and relief crashed over him. "Great," he muttered. "Perfect." He couldn't leave her up here, couldn't call Derek without explaining how this turned into an unconscious socialite situation. So Logan did the only thing that made sense. He carried her. She didn't wake up during the elevator ride down, or when he maneuvered her through the service hallways to the employee break room. He laid her on the worn couch, tucked his jacket around her like a blanket, and tried to figure out what the hell to do next. Her purse had fallen during the collapse. Logan picked it up, feeling like a criminal, and found her ID, Serena Vale. 27 years old. Address in Lincoln Park, the kind of neighborhood where doormen wore nicer suits than Logan owned. He Googled her name. The first result was a news article from earlier that evening. Billionaire Nathan Cross cancels engagement to fashion entrepreneur Serena Vale. Logan scrolled through the story, his stomach sinking with each paragraph. Nathan Cross, real estate mogul, venture capitalist, heir to a mining fortune. Serena Vale, founder of a luxury fashion startup, rising star in Chicago's social scene. Their engagement party had been scheduled for tonight at the Four Seasons. 300 guests, national media coverage, and Nathan Cross had ghosted her 2 hours before it started. The article included photos from past events. Serena in designer gowns, smiling brilliantly while Nathan's hand rested possessively on her waist. She looked happy in those pictures. Or maybe she'd just been good at pretending. Logan closed his phone and looked at the woman sleeping on the break room couch, this stranger who'd somehow stumbled into his life at midnight during the worst blizzard of the year. She stirred, eyelids fluttering. "Easy," Logan said. "You passed out. You're safe." Serena blinked at him, confused. Then memory crashed back and her face crumpled. "Oh, God." "I've got water." Logan handed her a bottle from the vending machine. "And there's coffee if you want something warm." She sat up slowly, still wrapped in his jacket, and looked around the dingy break room with its flickering fluorescent lights and decade-old furniture. "Where am I?" "Employee break room. Blackstone Grand Hotel. You were on the rooftop. You collapsed." "I remember." She took a sip of water, hands shaking. "You caught me." Seemed like the right move. "Why didn't you call an ambulance?" Logan hesitated. "Seemed like you wanted privacy more than paramedics." Serena laughed, sharp and humorless. "Privacy, right, because my humiliation wasn't already public enough." They sat in silence for a moment. Outside, the storm battered the windows, and Logan thought about Ellie waking up alone in their apartment, reading his note, eating cereal by herself because her father had to work. "I should go," Serena said finally. "Thank you for whatever this was." "You need a ride? I can call you a cab." "I'll manage." She stood, steadier now, and started to take off his jacket. Logan stopped her. "Keep it. You've still got a long way to go, and that dress isn't going to cut it." Serena stared at him like he'd spoken a foreign language. "I can't take your jacket." "Sure you can. I've got others." He didn't. This was his only work jacket. But she didn't need to know that. "Why are you being nice to me?" Serena asked quietly. "You don't know me. I'm just some random woman who caused problems at your job." Logan thought about that question, thought about all the people who'd ignored him on the train that morning, the landlord who raised his rent every year, the hospital billing department that called twice a week demanding money he didn't have. "My daughter's 7 years old," he said, "and she's watching the kind of man I become. I'd like her to grow up believing people help each other, even strangers, especially strangers." Serena's eyes filled with tears again, but she didn't let them fall. "What's your daughter's name?" "Ellie." "Tell Ellie her dad's a good person." Serena pulled his jacket tighter around herself. "Better than most." She walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. "What was your name again?" "Logan Hayes." "I'm Serena Vale, but I guess you already knew that." "Saw your ID when you collapsed. Sorry for the invasion of privacy." "You saved my life tonight, Logan Hayes. Privacy seems like a small thing to worry about." She paused. "I'll return your jacket. I promise. Don't worry about it." "I will, though." She smiled for the first time, and it transformed her face completely. "I always keep my promises." Then she was gone, disappearing into the hotel's marble lobby, and Logan was left standing in the break room wearing just his work shirt in the middle of a January blizzard. He checked his phone. 6:20 a.m. Ellie would be awake soon. Logan grabbed his thermos and headed back to work, trying to forget the way Serena Vale had looked at him, like he'd done something extraordinary instead of just basic human decency. 3 days passed. Logan worked double shifts, came home to Ellie, helped with homework, made dinner, tucked her in, and collapsed into bed only to wake up 4 hours later and do it all again. The routine was brutal, but it was his routine. It kept them alive. On Thursday afternoon, Derek called him into the office. "We need to talk," Derek said, and Logan's stomach dropped because nothing good ever started with those words. "What did I do?" "Nothing? That's the weird part." Derek leaned back in his chair, looking genuinely confused. You know the hotel's been struggling, right? Old owners can't compete with the new boutique places. They've been talking about selling for months. Logan's chest tightened. They're selling. They sold yesterday. Some young investor bought the whole property, cash deal. Closed in like 48 hours. So we're all getting fired. That's what I thought. Derek shook his head. But the new owner sent a memo this morning. No layoffs. In fact, they're planning renovations and expansions. Gonna hire more people. Logan didn't understand. Why are you telling me this? Because the new owner specifically asked about you, by name. Wanted to know your employment history, your performance reviews, everything. The air left Logan's lungs. What? Logan Hayes, maintenance technician, hired 4 years ago. They had your entire file pulled. I had to confirm you still worked here. Logan's mind raced. He didn't know anyone with that kind of money. Didn't know anyone who'd care enough to ask about him specifically. Unless... Who's the new owner? He asked quietly. Derek checked his computer. Vale Holdings LLC. CEO is someone named Serena Vale. Logan sat down heavily in the nearest chair. The woman from the rooftop, the broken engagement, the jacket he'd given her. She'd bought the hotel. You know her? Derek asked, watching Logan's reaction. We met. Once. Briefly. Well, she apparently remembers you. Derek pulled up an email. She's scheduled to tour the property tomorrow. Wants to meet with department heads and key personnel. Your name's on the list. Logan felt like he was drowning. Why would she put my name on that list? I don't know, man. But whatever you did, keep doing it. New owners can be unpredictable. If she likes you, that's good for all of us. Logan left the office in a daze, his mind spinning with questions he couldn't answer. Why would Serena Vale buy a struggling hotel? Why would she ask about him? What did any of this mean? He got home that evening to find Ellie sitting at the kitchen table, drawing with colored pencils Mrs. Chen had bought her. Daddy! She jumped up and hugged him, and Logan buried his face in her hair, breathing in the smell of strawberry shampoo and childhood. Hey, baby, how was school? Good. We learned about penguins. Did you know they can't fly, but they're really good swimmers? I did not know that. Ellie pulled away and showed him her drawing, a crude but enthusiastic sketch of what might have been a penguin, or possibly a very fat bird. That's beautiful, Elle. It's for you, for your room. Logan's throat tightened. Thank you, sweetheart. They made spaghetti together, Ellie standing on a chair to help stir the sauce. And for a little while, Logan forgot about Serena Vale and mysterious hotel purchases and the strange feeling that his life was about to change in ways he couldn't control. After dinner, after Ellie's bath and bedtime story, after she finally fell asleep clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit, Logan sat alone in the kitchen and stared at his phone. He could Google Serena again. Could try to understand why a woman he'd met for 20 minutes had just bought his workplace. Could drive himself crazy with speculation. Instead, he opened his banking app and looked at his account balance, $342. Rent was due in 6 days. Whatever Serena Vale wanted, whatever game this was, Logan couldn't afford to play. He had a daughter to raise and bills to pay, and no room for complications from billionaire socialites who collected broken people like charity projects. But even as he thought it, Logan remembered the way she'd looked at him in that break room, not like a maintenance worker, but like a person who'd seen her at her worst and helped anyway. I always keep my promises, she'd said. Logan closed his phone and went to bed, trying not to wonder what promises she'd made to herself about him. Friday morning arrived cold and sharp. Logan showed up to work an hour early because if Serena Vale was touring the hotel, he wanted to make sure every elevator, every light fixture, every pipe was working perfectly. Derek found him in the basement at 7 a.m., checking the ancient boiler system. She's here, Derek said, slightly breathless. Arrived 10 minutes ago, conference room B. Logan's pulse quickened. Should I, Yeah, she asked for you specifically. Clean up first, though. You've got grease on your face. Logan wiped his face with a towel, changed into a clean work shirt, and made his way to the second floor where the conference rooms were located. He could hear voices as he approached. Serena's, smooth and professional, asking questions about occupancy rates and revenue projections. He knocked on the doorframe. Serena looked up from the table where she sat surrounded by hotel managers and financial advisors, and her entire expression changed. Not dramatically, just a slight softening around her eyes, a barely perceptible smile. "Logan," she said warmly, "thank you for joining us." She looked different than she had on the rooftop. Professional now, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Logan's rent, her dark hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail. The woman who'd collapsed crying in the snow had been replaced by someone who radiated authority and control, but her eyes were the same, still carrying that shadow of exhaustion. "Ms. Vale," Logan said carefully, "I heard you wanted to see me." "I did. Please sit." Logan sat awkwardly at the end of the table, acutely aware that he was the only person in the room wearing a work uniform instead of business attire. Serena addressed the room. "I want to be clear about my vision for this property. The Blackstone Grand has history, legacy, and a reputation for excellent service. But it's been bleeding money for 3 years because previous ownership focused on luxury amenities while ignoring the people who actually make this hotel function." She pulled up a spreadsheet on her laptop. 73 employees, average tenure is 6 years. Turnover in housekeeping is 40% annually. Maintenance department is understaffed by 30%. And yet, guest satisfaction scores remain consistently high. She looked directly at Logan. "Why do you think that is?" Logan blinked, caught off guard. I'm not sure. I am. It's because the people who work here care. They take pride in their jobs even when they're underpaid and overworked. That's the foundation we're building on." One of the financial advisors shifted uncomfortably. "Ms. Vale, with all due respect, employee satisfaction doesn't directly correlate to profitability. It does when those employees are the only reason guests keep coming back." Serena's voice didn't rise, but it hardened. "We're implementing immediate changes. Wages increase by 15% across all departments. Healthcare benefits expand to include mental health services and childcare assistance. Maintenance gets 2 new hires within the month." Derek's eyes went wide. Logan felt like he'd been punched. "That's not sustainable," the advisor argued. The numbers will work when we stop treating human beings like line items." Serena closed her laptop. "This meeting is over. I want department heads to submit staffing needs by Monday. Logan, stay behind, please." The room cleared slowly, people filing out with confused glances. Derek gave Logan a look that clearly said, "What the hell is happening?" before disappearing into the hallway. Then it was just Logan and Serena, alone in the conference room. She stood and walked to the window, looking out at Michigan Avenue below. "I looked you up," she said quietly, "after that night. Found out about your wife, about Ellie, about how you've been working doubles to keep everything together." Logan's jaw tightened. "You didn't have to buy a hotel to return my jacket." "I didn't buy this hotel for you, Logan." Serena turned to face him. "I bought it because I needed something real, something that mattered. And that night on the rooftop, you showed me what that looked like." "I don't understand." "You helped someone you didn't know, someone who brought you nothing but problems. You gave me your jacket in a blizzard, even though you only had one. You didn't ask for anything in return." She moved closer. "Do you know how rare that is in my world? I was just doing what anyone would do." "No. You were doing what you thought your daughter should see you do. That's completely different." Logan stood, uncomfortable with the intensity in her voice. "Listen, I appreciate whatever this is, but I can't be your inspiration project. I've got a kid to raise and bills to pay. I can't afford complications." "I'm not offering complications. I'm offering you a raise and better benefits, and the chance to work somewhere that won't treat you like you're disposable." "Why?" "Because you deserve it." Logan laughed harshly. "You don't know anything about what I deserve. I know you carried a stranger out of a snowstorm. I know you work 80-hour weeks and still show up for your daughter. I know—" Her voice cracked slightly. "I know you saw me at my absolute worst, and you didn't judge me or abandon me or use it against me later." Silence filled the space between them. "Keep the changes," Logan said finally. "The raises, the benefits, all of it. The people here need it. But leave me out of whatever else you're planning." "What do you think I'm planning?" "I don't know. But I've learned that when rich people suddenly take an interest in me, it's never for good reasons." Serena flinched like he'd slapped her. "That's fair. Nathan taught you that, I suppose. Men like him always do." I don't know, Nathan. I just know I can't be someone's redemption arc. You're not. Serena's voice went soft. But maybe you could be my friend. Is that allowed? Logan wanted to say no. Wanted to walk out of that conference room and forget this entire conversation. But something in Serena's expression stopped him, a loneliness that mirrored his own. I don't have friends who buy hotels, he said carefully. Neither did I until recently. A small smile. We'll figure it out together. Logan knew this was a mistake, knew that letting Serena Vale into his life, even peripherally, was asking for trouble. But he'd been surviving alone for 3 years, and somewhere deep in his chest, buried under grief and exhaustion, was a tiny part of him that remembered what it felt like to be seen. Okay, he heard himself say. Friends. But Ellie comes first. Always. I wouldn't expect anything less. Serena held out her hand and Logan shook it, feeling the warmth of her skin against his palm and wondering what the hell he'd just agreed to. Neither of them noticed the man standing in the hallway outside the conference room, phone camera pointed through the door's narrow window, capturing their handshake for posterity, or for leverage. The photograph appeared online 3 days later. Logan was eating lunch in the employee break room when Derek burst through the door, holding his phone like it might explode. Have you seen this? Derek demanded, shoving the screen in Logan's face. It was him and Serena shaking hands in the conference room, shot through the doorway. The angle made it look intimate, conspiratorial. The caption read, New Blackstone owner Serena Vale getting cozy with staff, rebound or business. Logan's stomach dropped. Where did this come from? Everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, some gossip blog called Chicago Elite Watch. Derek scrolled frantically. They're saying you two are involved, that she bought the hotel to be close to you, that you're... He stopped, reading. Jesus, Logan, they're calling you a gold digger. That's insane. We shook hands. Once. The internet doesn't care about context. Derek sat down heavily. This is bad. Management's already getting calls from reporters. Logan felt his chest tighten. He'd spent 3 years keeping his head down, staying invisible, making sure nothing and no one could threaten his custody of Ellie. Now his face was online attached to a billionaire's name, and all he could think about was Ellie's uncle, his late wife's brother Marcus, who'd been looking for any excuse to claim Logan was an unfit father since the funeral. I need to talk to Serena, Logan said, standing abruptly. Good luck. She's locked in meetings all day. Some big investor thing. Logan didn't care. He took the service elevator to the top floor where Serena had converted a suite into temporary offices. Her assistant, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia, who looked like she could kill someone with a stapler, blocked his path immediately. Mr. Hayes, Ms. Vale is occupied. I need 5 minutes. She's in the middle of... Patricia, it's fine. Serena appeared in the doorway behind her assistant, looking exhausted. She wore another expensive suit, but her hair was loose now, and there were shadows under her eyes that makeup couldn't quite hide. Let him in. Patricia stepped aside with obvious reluctance, and Logan followed Serena into an office that still smelled like fresh paint. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Chicago skyline, and Logan felt acutely out of place standing there in his work boots and stained uniform. Serena closed the door. I saw the photo. Yeah, well, apparently so did everyone else. Logan pulled out his phone and showed her the worst of the comments. They think we're sleeping together. They think I'm using you for money. They think you're having some kind of breakdown, and I'm taking advantage. Serena scrolled through the comments, her expression unreadable. People always think the worst. This isn't a joke. I have a daughter. I have a life that can't afford this kind of attention. I know. She handed back his phone. I've already contacted my lawyers. They're issuing a statement this afternoon clarifying that our relationship is purely professional. Will that work? Probably not, but it's a start. Serena moved to the window, arms crossed. I'm sorry, Logan. I didn't think anyone was watching that closely yet. Someone was. Someone with a camera and an agenda. Or someone who wanted to hurt me through you. Serena's voice went cold. Nathan has friends everywhere. He'd love nothing more than to make me look unstable or reckless. Logan thought about the man who'd abandoned Serena 2 hours before their engagement party and felt a surge of anger he didn't quite understand. Why would he care? He's the one who left. Because I embarrassed him by not falling apart. by buying this hotel and moving on instead of begging him to come back. She turned to face Logan. Men like Nathan don't handle rejection well, even when they're the ones who rejected you first. That's twisted. That's wealth. Serena smiled bitterly. You'll learn. Logan shook his head. No, I won't, because I'm staying as far away from this mess as possible. You can't. You're already in it. Then I'm out. I'll quit. Find another job. And go where? Serena challenged. Every hotel in Chicago will see this photo. Every employer will Google your name and find speculation about your personal life. Running doesn't make this disappear. Logan wanted to argue, but he knew she was right. The internet was forever. Once your face was out there, attached to scandal, you couldn't scrub it clean. What do I do? He asked quietly. You do your job. You take care of Ellie. You ignore the noise. Serena's voice softened. And you let me handle the rest. I don't need you to protect me. Maybe not, but I'm going to anyway. She met his eyes. You helped me when you didn't have to. Let me return the favor. Logan wanted to refuse, wanted to maintain the walls he'd built so carefully around his life. But standing in that office, watching Serena try to fix a problem she hadn't created, he realized something uncomfortable. He was tired of fighting everything alone. Okay, he said finally, but if this gets worse, if it threatens Ellie in any way, I'm done. No arguments. Deal. They shook hands again, and this time Logan was hyper-aware of the gesture, of how it might look to cameras he couldn't see. Serena seemed to read his mind. Don't let them make you afraid to be human, Logan. That's how they win. He left the office feeling slightly less panicked, but no less cornered. The rest of his shift passed in a blur of suspicious glances and whispered conversations that stopped whenever he entered a room. By the time Logan clocked out at 6, he felt like he'd been running a marathon through quicksand. He picked up Ellie from Mrs. Chen's apartment and walked her home through streets that felt colder than usual, more hostile. Every person they passed seemed to be staring, judging, though Logan knew that was probably paranoia. Daddy, you're quiet, Ellie observed as they climbed the stairs to their apartment. Did something bad happen at work? Just a long day, baby. Did the elevators break again? Something like that. They made dinner together, mac and cheese from a box because Logan didn't have the energy for anything more complicated. Ellie chattered about her day, about the friend who'd shared cookies at lunch and the spelling test she'd aced, and Logan tried to focus on her voice instead of the growing dread in his chest. After Ellie went to bed, Logan sat at the kitchen table and did what he'd been avoiding all day. He read the comments. They were worse than Derek had shown him. Vicious, personal attacks from strangers who knew nothing about his life but felt entitled to destroy it anyway. They called him a leech, a manipulator, a deadbeat dad looking for a meal ticket. Someone had found his late wife's obituary and posted it with speculation about whether Logan had married her for money too. Logan's hand shook as he closed the browser. He'd thought he understood cruelty, thought he'd experienced the worst of what people could say and do after losing Sarah, after the hospital bills and the funeral costs and the sympathetic looks from neighbors who stopped calling after a month. But this was different. This was public dismantling by people who'd never met him, never seen him with Ellie, never watched him work 16-hour days just to keep food on the table. His phone rang. Unknown number. Logan almost didn't answer. Then something made him pick up. Mr. Hayes? The voice was male, professional, unfamiliar. My name is Marcus Chen. I'm calling on behalf of my client, Nathan Cross. Logan's blood ran cold. I don't know who that is. I think you do. Mr. Cross would like to meet with you, tomorrow, if possible. Why would I meet with him? Because he has information you'll find valuable regarding Ms. Vale's true motivations for purchasing the Blackstone Grand, and regarding your employment there. I'm not interested. Mr. Hayes, I understand you're a single father. Custody arrangements can be fragile things. Wouldn't you rather know what you're dealing with before things get more complicated? The threat was barely veiled. Logan felt rage flood his system, hot and overwhelming. If you or your client come anywhere near my daughter, no one's threatening anyone, Mr. Hayes. We're simply offering information. What you do with it is your choice. A pause. Mr. Cross will be at the Ritz-Carlton bar tomorrow at 7 p.m. He'll wait 30 minutes. After that, the offer expires. the line went dead. Logan sat in the dark kitchen, phone clutched in his hand, and tried to remember how to breathe. This was exactly what he'd been afraid of. The moment wealth and power decided to pay attention to him, everything fell apart. He could ignore the meeting, could tell Nathan Cross and his lawyer to go to hell, could pretend this conversation never happened. But that threat about custody arrangements, that wasn't accidental. That was reconnaissance. Nathan knew about Marcus, knew about the tenuous peace Logan had maintained with his late wife's family, knew exactly where to apply pressure. Logan texted Serena. Nathan's lawyer just called, wants to meet tomorrow. Mentioned Ellie's custody. The reply came within seconds. Don't go. It's a trap. Logan stared at the message, then typed back, what if he actually knows something? What if you're not telling me everything? The three dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, can we talk? In person? Logan looked at Ellie's closed bedroom door. Not tonight. She's asleep. Tomorrow morning then, before work. I'll come to you. You can't come here. The neighbors already think I'm sleeping with you. Coffee shop? Corner of Ashland and 18th? Logan knew the place. Cheap coffee, early hours, no one who'd recognize a billionaire at 6 a.m. Fine, 6:30. He didn't sleep that night, just lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to Ellie's soft breathing through the wall, and wondered how his life had turned into something he couldn't control. Morning came gray and bitter. Logan got Ellie up, made her breakfast, walked her to the bus stop while trying to smile like everything was normal. Then he headed to the coffee shop where Serena was already waiting in a corner booth, wearing jeans and a plain coat that made her look almost ordinary. Almost. She'd brought 2 coffees, slid one across the table when Logan sat down. You look terrible, she said. Thanks. That's exactly what I needed to hear. I mean, you look like you didn't sleep, which makes sense, given Nathan's stunt. Serena wrapped her hands around her cup. What did the lawyer say exactly? Logan repeated the conversation word for word, watched Serena's expression darken with each sentence. He's fishing, she said when Logan finished, trying to find leverage. Leverage for what? What does he want? What does... Serena was quiet for a long moment. Then, he wants me to fail. Wants this hotel to collapse so he can point to it as proof I'm unstable, reckless, incapable of running a business without him. Why does he care? You said he was the one who left. Because Nathan's ego is bigger than his bank account. He spent 3 years building me into his perfect accessory, and when I didn't shatter after he left, it threatened his entire narrative. She looked directly at Logan. You want the truth? I didn't just buy this hotel for business reasons. I bought it because I needed something that was mine. Something Nathan couldn't touch or control or take credit for. So I'm what? Collateral damage in your revenge plan? No. You're proof that good people still exist, and Nathan can't stand that. Logan laughed harshly. I'm not good. I'm just trying to survive. That's what makes you good. You keep choosing kindness even when the world keeps punishing you for it. Kindness doesn't pay rent, Serena. No. But it builds something that money can't buy. She reached across the table, stopped just short of touching his hand. I'm not using you, Logan. I'm not trying to fix myself through you or make you my project. Her voice cracked slightly. I just want to build something real. And you're the first real person I've met in years. Logan wanted to believe her. Wanted to trust that this wasn't some elaborate game he couldn't understand. But 3 years of grinding poverty and single parenthood had taught him that trust was expensive. What if I meet with Nathan? He asked. What if I hear what he has to say? Then you're playing his game, and he's been playing it a lot longer than you. Maybe, but at least I'll know what I'm up against. Serena studied him carefully. You're going to go anyway, aren't you? No matter what I say. I need to know if you're lying to me. I'm not. Then you've got nothing to worry about. Logan stood, leaving the coffee untouched. Serena grabbed his wrist, not hard, just enough to stop him. Be careful, she said quietly. Nathan doesn't make offers. He makes traps that look like offers. I've been poor my entire life, Serena. I know how rich people work. He left before she could respond, stepping out into the freezing morning and wondering if he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life. The day crawled past. Logan fixed a broken ice machine, unclogged a third-floor bathroom, and avoided Derek's questions about the photo scandal. By 7 p.m., he was standing outside the Ritz-Carlton, staring at the revolving door and trying to convince himself to walk away. He went inside. The bar was all dark wood and soft lighting, the kind of place where drinks cost $30 and came with artisanal garnishes. Logan spotted Nathan Cross immediately. Mid-30s, expensive suit, the kind of face that belonged on magazine covers advertising watches or cologne. Nathan saw him too, smiled like they were old friends. "Logan Hayes, thank you for coming." Nathan gestured to the empty seat across from him. "Please, sit. Can I get you something?" "I'm not staying long." "Even better, I'll get right to it." Nathan took a sip of whatever amber liquid filled his glass. "Serena's playing you." "That's your big revelation?" "It's the truth. She didn't buy that hotel because she cares about hospitality or workers' rights or any of that bleeding heart nonsense she's selling. She bought it to get back at me." "She told me that already." Nathan's smile faltered. "Did she tell you about the clause in our prenuptial agreement?" Logan said nothing. "Serena and I were supposed to merge our companies after marriage. Vail Holdings, her fashion startup, would have been absorbed into Cross Enterprises. In exchange, she'd receive a significant equity stake and board position." Nathan leaned forward. "But the prenup included a morality clause. If either of us engaged in behavior that damaged the other's reputation, the merger was void." So Serena's trying to trigger that clause. She's building a public narrative where I'm the villain who abandoned her, and she's the sympathetic victim rebuilding her life. Once that narrative is solid enough, she'll claim I violated the morality clause by humiliating her. Then she keeps full control of Vail Holdings and walks away from our agreement with no consequences. Logan's head was spinning. "That doesn't have anything to do with me." "It has everything to do with you. You're part of her narrative. The working-class hero who saved her from suicide, who showed her that real people matter. It's a PR strategy, Logan, and you're the star of her redemption story." "You don't know what you're talking about, don't I?" Nathan pulled out his phone, showed Logan a document. "This is Vail Holdings' marketing budget for the next quarter. $3 million allocated to brand repositioning and public sympathy campaigns. Want to guess what that means?" Logan stared at the numbers, feeling sick. "She's going to use you until she doesn't need you anymore," Nathan continued. "Then she'll move on to the next charity case, and you'll be left with nothing but a ruined reputation and unemployed because the hotel she bought will go bankrupt within 18 months. "How do you know it'll go bankrupt?" "Because I've seen her financials. Vail Holdings is hemorrhaging money. That fashion startup? It's a disaster. She's bleeding cash to maintain the illusion of success. Buying the Blackstone was desperation, not strategy." Nathan finished his drink, set the glass down carefully. "Here's what I'm offering. Walk away from Serena. Quit the hotel. I'll set you up with a job at one of my properties. Better pay, better hours, better benefits. Your custody situation stays private. Your daughter stays safe. And if I don't, then I can't protect you from what's coming. Serena's ex-employees are already talking to reporters. The articles about her mismanagement and financial incompetence will start running next week. Your name will be attached to all of it. Every future employer will Google you and find scandal." Nathan stood, straightening his jacket. "You seem like a decent guy, Logan. You don't deserve to get crushed because you made the mistake of being kind to the wrong person. Think about what I said. You've got 72 hours to decide." He walked out, leaving Logan alone at the table with a waiter hovering nearby, clearly wondering if the guy in the work uniform could actually afford anything on the menu. Logan left without ordering, walked through the freezing streets trying to process everything Nathan had said, trying to separate truth from manipulation. His phone buzzed, text from Serena. "How did it go?" Logan stared at the message for a long time. Then he called her. She answered on the first ring. "Logan? Is it true?" His voice came out rougher than intended. "The marketing budget, the brand repositioning, am I part of some PR strategy?" Silence on the other end. Then quietly, "Yes." Logan's world tilted. Jesus. "But not the way Nathan made it sound. Let me explain. You used me. You bought the hotel. You made me think you actually cared about the workers. And all of it was just to make yourself look good. That's not... Logan, please listen. I am listening. And all I'm hearing is that I was right from the beginning. Rich people don't help. They just take. I'm not taking anything from you. You're taking my trust." Logan's voice cracked. You're taking my daughter's sense of security. You're taking the one thing I had left, the ability to keep my head down and survive, and you're turning it into a goddamn billboard for your redemption tour. It's not like that. The marketing budget was for the hotel renovation, for promoting the new employee policies. Don't lie to me, not now. Serena was crying. Logan could hear it in her breathing. I'm not lying. Nathan twisted everything to hurt you. That's what he does. Then explain the morality clause. Explain why you really bought the hotel. Another long silence. When Serena spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. I bought it because I was drowning. Because Nathan took everything I built and made it about him, and I needed something that was just mine. And yes, part of that was proving I could succeed without him. But it wasn't about revenge. It was about survival. And me? Where do I fit in your survival plan? You don't. You're not part of any plan. You're just... She stopped, started again. You're just the first person in years who looked at me like I was human, and I wanted to protect that, wanted to build something around it. Logan closed his eyes, standing in the middle of a sidewalk while people rushed past him. I can't do this, Serena. I can't be your experiment in humanity. I have a daughter who depends on me. I know. So you understand why I need to walk away. I understand, but I'm asking you not to. Serena's voice steadied. I'm asking you to give me a chance to prove that not everyone with money is Nathan Cross, that some of us are actually trying to be better. Why does it matter what I think? Because you're the only person who's been honest with me in 3 years. And I can't lose that. I can't lose you. The raw vulnerability in her voice made Logan's chest ache. He thought about Ellie asking why he looked so sad lately. Thought about the way Serena had looked on that rooftop, broken and alone and ready to give up. I need time, he said finally. I need to think. Okay, take all the time you need. And Serena? Yeah? If I find out you lied about anything else, if there's one more secret, one more manipulation, I'm done. No second chances. I understand. Logan hung up and started walking home, his mind a mess of conflicting thoughts. Nathan's offer played on repeat. Better job, better pay. Safety for Ellie. All he had to do was abandon Serena and pretend the past 2 weeks hadn't happened. It would be so easy. He got home to find Ellie sitting at the kitchen table with Mrs. Chen, working on homework. The older woman took one look at Logan's face and made an excuse to leave. Daddy, you look sad again, Ellie said, setting down her pencil. Logan sat beside her, suddenly exhausted. Just work stuff, baby. Is it the pretty lady? Logan blinked. What pretty lady? The one from the snow. Mrs. Chen showed me a picture on her phone. She said people are talking about you and the lady. Logan's stomach dropped. What did the picture look like? You were shaking hands. Mrs. Chen said people think you're dating her, but I told her that's silly because you don't date anyone. That's right. We're not dating. She's just... Logan stopped. What was Serena? His boss? His friend? A complication he couldn't afford? She's just someone I helped, he finished. Like how I helped Mr. Patterson fix his sink last month. Sometimes we help people. Do you like her? It's complicated, Elle. Ellie frowned, considering this. Then, Mom would want you to be happy, you know. She told me before she got really sick, she made me promise that if she went away, I'd make sure you didn't forget how to smile. Logan felt his throat close up. Your mom said that? Yeah. She said you're the best person she ever knew, and she didn't want you to be alone forever. Ellie reached over and grabbed his hand. So if the pretty lady makes you smile, maybe Mom would like that. Logan pulled his daughter into a hug, burying his face in her hair so she wouldn't see him crying. I love you so much, you know that? I know, Daddy. Love you too. That night, after Ellie fell asleep, Logan sat on the floor of his bedroom with his phone in his hands, Nathan's offer and Serena's plea warring in his mind. He could choose safety, could take Nathan's job, protect Ellie from scandal, go back to being invisible. Or he could choose risk, could trust that Serena meant what she said, that some people really were trying to be better, that maybe, just maybe, he deserved more than survival. Logan thought about his wife's last words to him, whispered in a hospital room while machines beeped around them. Don't let this break you. Don't let it make you small. He'd spent 3 years making himself as small as possible, convinced that invisibility equaled safety. But what if Sarah had been right? What if staying small was its own kind of breaking? Logan picked up his phone and texted Serena. "I'm not walking away, but I need answers. All of them. Tomorrow." Her response came immediately. "You'll get them. I promise." Logan set the phone down and tried to ignore the voice in his head that whispered he was making a terrible mistake. Serena showed up at the hotel the next morning carrying a cardboard box and looking like she'd slept about as well as Logan had. He met her in the empty conference room where they'd first shaken hands, where someone had taken the photograph that started this whole mess. The early morning light coming through the windows made everything look washed out and tired. "I brought everything," Serena said, setting the box on the table. "Financial records, marketing plans, legal documents from the Nathan situation, employee contracts, all of it." Logan stared at the box. "That's a lot of paper." "That's transparency." She sat down heavily. "You said you wanted answers. Here they are." For the next 2 hours, Serena walked Logan through every decision she'd made since buying the hotel. The numbers were uglier than he'd expected. Vail Holdings really was bleeding money, just like Nathan said. Her fashion startup had 3 failed product launches in 18 months. Investors were pulling out. The Blackstone purchase had nearly bankrupted her. "So why buy it?" Logan asked, rubbing his eyes. "If you're already drowning, why take on more debt?" "Because I needed something concrete. Something I could touch and fix and prove I wasn't the failure Nathan made me out to be." Serena pulled out another document. "This is the actual marketing budget Nathan showed you. He wasn't lying about the $3 million, but look at the line items." Logan scanned the spreadsheet. Hotel renovation, new employee benefit programs, equipment upgrades, marketing for the relaunch. And yes, there was a line for PR and brand positioning, but it was barely 10% of the total budget. "The PR isn't about you," Serena said quietly. "It's about positioning the hotel as employee first. Showing that luxury and fair treatment aren't mutually exclusive. You're not the campaign, Logan. The workers are. But I'm the story everyone's talking about. Because Nathan made sure of it. He leaked that photo, probably paid someone on staff to take it." She showed him another document, a text exchange between an unknown number and someone named David Winters. "Winters works in accounting. Nathan offered him $5,000 for any compromising photos of me. The handshake was just the beginning." Logan felt sick. "There are more photos?" "Probably. Winters has been following me around with his phone for 2 weeks. My lawyers are building a harassment case, but it takes time." "Why didn't you tell me this before?" "Because I thought I could handle it without dragging you deeper into the mess." Serena's voice cracked. "I thought I could protect you." "I'm not a child, Serena. I don't need protection. I need honesty." "You're right. I'm sorry." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Logan asked the question that had been eating at him since the Ritz-Carlton. The morality clause. Is Nathan right about that? Serena hesitated, and Logan knew the answer before she spoke. "Yes. There's a clause. But I'm not trying to trigger it. I'm trying to survive it." She pulled out the prenuptial agreement, pages and pages of legal language that made Logan's head hurt. "Nathan's lawyers built in a provision that if either of us engaged in publicly scandalous behavior, the business merger could be voided. But it works both ways. If Nathan's the one who causes the scandal, I keep my company and he loses the merger rights." "So you're both trying to destroy each other?" "No, he's trying to destroy me. I'm trying to stay alive long enough to prove he's a fraud." Serena pointed to another section of the contract. "Nathan's business empire is built on shell companies and offshore accounts. I found evidence of tax evasion, investor fraud, money laundering. I gave it all to the FBI 3 weeks ago." Logan's head snapped up. "You what?" "I reported him. Before the engagement party. Before any of this. That's the real reason he left me. His lawyers found out I'd turned over evidence, and they advised him to cut ties immediately." "Jesus, Serena. I know it's insane, but I couldn't marry someone who was stealing from people, who was hurting people. I couldn't—" Her voice broke completely. "I couldn't become complicit." Logan looked at this woman who'd bought a struggling hotel with money she didn't have, who'd reported her fiancé to federal investigators, who'd somehow decided that a maintenance worker's opinion mattered enough to sit here at 7 in the morning explaining herself. You should have led with that, he said finally. The whole FBI thing kind of changes the context. Serena laughed, wet and shaky. I was trying to keep you out of it. Nathan's dangerous when he's cornered. I didn't want him targeting you or Ellie. Too late for that. I know. I'm sorry. Logan stood and walked to the window, looking down at Michigan Avenue where early commuters hurried through the cold. Nathan offered me a job. Better pay. Safety for Ellie. All I have to do is walk away from you and the hotel. Are you going to take it? I don't know. Part of me thinks I should. Part of me thinks I'm an idiot for even hesitating. He turned back to face her. But Ellie said something last night about how her mom would want me to be happy, and I realized I've spent 3 years confusing survival with living. There's a difference? Yeah, one of them involves actually caring about something other than making it to tomorrow. Logan moved back to the table, to the box full of Serena's secrets. I'm not taking Nathan's offer, but I'm also not blindly trusting you. From now on, no more secrets. No more protection. If something affects me or Ellie, I need to know. Immediately. Serena nodded, relief washing over her face. I can do that. And one more thing. Ellie wants to meet you. Properly. Not just seeing your picture online. If we're doing this, whatever this is, she needs to be part of it. I'd like that. Okay then. Logan picked up his coffee, which had gone cold an hour ago. Let's figure out how to survive Nathan Cross and the FBI and your impending bankruptcy. Should be simple. Serena actually smiled. Piece of cake. They spent the rest of the morning going through documents, building a timeline of Nathan's harassment, identifying which employees might be compromised. By the time Logan had to start his actual shift, he felt like he'd run a marathon through legal paperwork. Derek caught him in the hallway. You look worse than yesterday. Didn't think that was possible. Thanks for the morale boost. I'm serious, man. What's going on? The rumors are getting worse. Someone said you and Serena spent the night together in that conference room. Logan closed his eyes and counted to 5. We were going over business documents, about the hotel. That's it. Yeah, well, Winters is telling people he saw you two holding hands. Winters is a liar who's being paid by Serena's ex. Derek's eyes widened. Are you kidding? Do I look like I'm kidding? What are you going to do about it? I have no idea. Logan checked his phone. Text from Mrs. Chen. Marcus called, says he needs to talk about Ellie. Sounded serious. Logan's stomach dropped. Marcus, his late wife's brother, who'd been circling like a shark ever since Sarah died, looking for any excuse to claim Logan was an unfit parent. I gotta go, Logan told Derek. Cover for me? You're gonna owe me like 6 favors. Logan was already running. He called Marcus from the service stairwell, hands shaking. The phone rang 4 times before Marcus answered. Logan, thanks for calling back. What's this about, Marcus? Logan didn't bother with pleasantries. They'd never liked each other. I saw the photos, you and that billionaire woman. We work together, that's it. That's not what the internet says. They're saying you're sleeping with your boss, that you're using her for money. That's not the kind of environment Ellie should be exposed to. Ellie is fine. She's happy and healthy and doing great in school. Is she? Because I drove by your apartment last week, saw you leave at 5 in the morning for work, saw Mrs. Chen bring Ellie to school. That little girl is being raised by a neighbor while you chase rich women. Logan's vision went red. You're stalking us now? I'm concerned about my niece. Sarah would want... Don't you dare tell me what Sarah would want. You barely spoke to her when she was alive. I'm filing for custody, Logan. My lawyer thinks we have a strong case. Unstable living situation, questionable romantic relationships, a father who's never home. You son of a... See you in court. Marcus hung up. Logan stood in the stairwell, phone clutched in his hand, rage and terror fighting for dominance in his chest. This was it. The nightmare he'd been running from for 3 years. Someone was actually trying to take Ellie. He called Serena. She answered immediately. Marcus is filing for custody, Logan said without preamble. Sarah's brother. He's using the photos, the scandal, everything. When? I don't know. Soon. He just called. Okay, don't panic. I have lawyers. Good ones. They handle family law. I can't afford lawyers, Serena. You're not paying. I am. No, absolutely not. That'll just make things worse. He'll say I'm being bought. Then what do you want to do? Logan leaned against the wall, trying to think through the panic. I need to prove I'm a good father, that Ellie's life is stable, that the scandal is just noise. How? I don't know yet, but I need to figure it out fast. Logan hung up and immediately called the one person who might actually help, a legal aid attorney named Jennifer Park, who'd helped him navigate Sarah's medical debt after she died. Jennifer answered on the third ring, sounding harassed. Logan, it's been a while. I need help. Someone's filing for custody of my daughter. Okay, walk me through it. Logan explained everything, the photos, Nathan, the hotel, Marcus's threats. Jennifer listened without interrupting, and when Logan finished, she let out a long breath. This is messy. I know, but it's not insurmountable. Marcus has to prove you're an unfit parent, which is a high bar. You've got 3 years of sole custody without incidents. Ellie's healthy and in school. You've never been arrested or accused of abuse. But the photos, this are gossip, not evidence. Unless Marcus can prove you're actually doing something harmful to Ellie, a judge won't care who you're shaking hands with. What about my work schedule? He's right that I'm barely home. Lots of single parents work long hours. That's not grounds for removal, but it would help if you could show Ellie has consistent care and supervision. Mrs. Chen watches her. That's good. Get a statement from her. From Ellie's teachers, too. Anyone who can testify that Ellie's thriving. Logan felt a tiny bit of hope. You really think we can fight this? I think Marcus is bluffing. He probably wants to scare you into paying him off or giving him more access. But if he does file, we'll be ready. I can't afford. Legal aid covers custody cases. You won't pay anything. But Logan? Jennifer's voice went serious. You need to clean up your personal life. Fast. If there's even a hint of instability, Marcus will use it. Logan thought about Serena, about the FBI investigation, about David Winters following them with a camera. Yeah, he said quietly. I'm working on it. He spent the rest of the day in a fog, going through the motions of fixing pipes and checking boilers while his mind raced with custody hearings and character witnesses and the growing certainty that trying to help Serena had been the biggest mistake of his life. At 3:15, Logan left work early, something he never did, and went to pick up Ellie himself. He needed to see her, needed to hold on to something real while everything else fell apart. She came out of the school building with a group of kids, laughing about something, her backpack bouncing against her shoulders. When she saw Logan waiting, her face lit up. Daddy, you're here! Thought I'd surprise you. Want to get ice cream? It's freezing outside. That's the best time for ice cream. Less competition for the good flavors. They went to a little shop near the apartment, the kind that stayed open year-round because the owner was either optimistic or crazy. Ellie got mint chocolate chip. Logan got coffee because he needed the caffeine more than the sugar. Daddy, are you in trouble? Ellie asked after a few minutes of eating in silence. Logan looked at his daughter, this 7-year-old who'd already lost so much, who'd learned to read adult emotions because she'd watched her mother die slowly and her father grieve loudly. Why would you think that? Because Uncle Marcus called Mrs. Chen. I heard her talking about it. She sounded worried. Logan's heart sank. What did she say? That Uncle Marcus is being mean, that he's trying to make problems for you. Ellie put down her spoon. Is he trying to take me away? Logan wanted to lie, wanted to tell her everything was fine and she had nothing to worry about. But Ellie had been lied to enough in her short life, by doctors who said mommy might get better, by relatives who promised they'd visit and never did. He's thinking about it, Logan said carefully. But it's just thinking. Nothing's decided. Would I have to live with him? No, never. You're staying with me. Promise? Logan took her hand across the sticky table. I promise, Elle. Whatever happens, we stay together. Ellie seemed to accept this. Went back to her ice cream, but Logan saw the fear lingering in her eyes, and he hated Marcus for putting it there. They walked home as the sun set, turning Chicago's skyline into black silhouettes against orange sky. At the apartment building entrance, they ran into Serena. She was standing on the sidewalk looking lost, wearing that same plain coat from the coffee shop, hands shoved deep in her pockets against the cold. Serena? Logan stopped, surprised. What are you doing here? I wanted to make sure you were okay. After the Marcus thing. She noticed Ellie and smiled. "Hi, you must be Ellie." Ellie stared at her with wide eyes. "You're the pretty snow princess." Serena blinked. "The what?" "Ellie's been drawing pictures of you," Logan explained, feeling his face heat, "ever since that first night." "Oh." Serena crouched down to Ellie's level. "Well, I'm honored, though I'm not sure about the princess part. I'm more of a disaster in expensive shoes." Ellie giggled. "Daddy says you're nice." "He did?" "Yeah, he said you're someone who's trying to be better." I didn't really understand what that meant, but it sounded important. Serena looked up at Logan and something passed between them. Understanding maybe, or just shared exhaustion from carrying too much for too long. "Do you want to come up?" Logan heard himself ask. "I was going to make dinner. Nothing fancy, but you look freezing." "I don't want to intrude." "You're already here. Might as well eat." Serena followed them upstairs to the tiny apartment that suddenly felt even smaller with 3 people in it. Ellie immediately started showing her the drawings, elaborate fantasies involving snow and castles, and a princess who looked suspiciously like Serena saving people from dragons. "These are amazing," Serena said, studying each one seriously. "You're really talented." "Daddy says I get it from Mom. She used to paint." "Your mom had excellent taste then." Logan made spaghetti again. It was literally the only meal he could reliably produce, while Serena and Ellie sat at the kitchen table coloring together. Watching them, listening to Ellie's chatter and Serena's patient responses, Logan felt something crack open in his chest. This was what he'd been missing. Not romance or attraction or any of that complicated adult stuff. Just this. Someone else helping carry the weight of raising a kid. Someone else listening to Ellie's stories and caring about her opinions. Someone else making their tiny apartment feel less lonely. They ate dinner together, elbows bumping on the small table, and Logan realized Serena was terrible at using chopsticks, but too proud to admit it. Ellie found this hilarious and spent 10 minutes teaching her the right grip. "You're a good teacher," Serena told Ellie. "Very patient." "That's what Ms. Rodriguez says. She's my teacher. She says I'm going to be a doctor when I grow up because I'm good at fixing things." "Like your dad," Ellie beamed. "Yeah, like Daddy." After dinner, Ellie insisted on showing Serena her room, the tiny space Logan had tried to make special with glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling and a bookshelf he'd built himself from scrap wood. It wasn't much, but it was Ellie's, and she was proud of it. Logan stayed in the kitchen, washing dishes and listening to his daughter explain her stuffed animal family tree to a billionaire who actually seemed interested. His phone buzzed. Text from Jennifer Park. "Marcus filed this afternoon. Court date set for 3 weeks from now. We need to meet ASAP to prepare." Logan's hands went numb. 3 weeks. He had 3 weeks to prove he was worthy of keeping his daughter. Serena appeared in the kitchen doorway. "Ellie's showing me her books. She has quite a collection." "Thrift stores and library sales," Logan said automatically. "Books are cheaper than toys." "She's wonderful, Logan. Really." "I know. You're a good father." Logan's throat tightened. "Not according to Marcus. He filed. Court dates in 3 weeks. Serena's face went pale. "What do you need?" "I don't know. Everything. Nothing. A time machine." "Let me help." "You can't buy me out of this one, Serena." "I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about character witnesses, documentation, proof that Ellie's in a loving, stable home." Serena stepped closer. "I own the hotel now. I can adjust your schedule, give you more regular hours, make sure you're home for dinner every night." "That looks like favoritism." "It looks like good management. Happier employees work better." Logan wanted to argue, but the truth was he needed help. Needed anything that might convince a judge he deserved to keep Ellie. "Okay," he said finally, "but nothing that raises more red flags? No special treatment, just normal stuff." "Normal stuff. I can do that." Ellie called from the other room. "Serena, come see my book about penguins." Serena smiled. Duty calls. She left Logan alone with the dishes and the crushing weight of everything that could go wrong. But for just a moment, watching Serena read to his daughter in the next room, Logan let himself imagine what it might feel like if things actually went right. The next 2 weeks were a blur of preparation. Jennifer Park interviewed Mrs. Chen, Ellie's teachers, Derek, even some of the hotel guests who'd interacted with Logan over the years. The picture they painted was consistent. Logan Hayes was a dedicated father who worked himself to death to provide for his kid, and Ellie was thriving because of it, not despite it. But Marcus wasn't giving up. His lawyers dug into every aspect of Logan's life: the late-night shifts, the cramped apartment, the inappropriate relationship with his employer. They found out about the unpaid medical bills from Sarah's treatment, the credit card debt, the fact that Logan had missed 2 of Ellie's school events in the past year because of work emergencies. Each new revelation felt like a knife. Each piece of evidence made Logan feel like he was failing all over again. Serena tried to help without overstepping. She adjusted schedules across the hotel so maintenance had better coverage. She quietly paid for Jennifer Park's expenses, the filing fees, the document preparation, in a way that couldn't be traced back to Logan. She even showed up at Ellie's next school event, sitting beside Logan in the audience while Ellie performed in a class play about recycling. "She's a natural," Serena whispered, while Ellie explained the importance of composting with more enthusiasm than accuracy. "She gets nervous in front of crowds," Logan whispered back, "but she pushes through anyway." Wonder where she learned that. After the play, they took Ellie for pizza. Other parents stared. Word had spread about Logan and the hotel owner, about the custody battle, about everything. But Serena ignored them, and eventually Logan learned to do the same. "Can Serena come to my birthday party?" Ellie asked through a mouthful of pepperoni. Logan had forgotten about the birthday. Ellie was turning 8 in 2 days. "Sweetie, I don't know if—" "Please?" Ellie looked at Serena with those huge eyes that Logan had never learned to resist. "We're not doing anything big, just cake at home. But you could come, if you want." Serena looked at Logan, asking permission. He shrugged. What was one more complication at this point? "I'd love to come," Serena said. "Should I bring a present?" "You don't have to," Logan started. "Yes," Ellie interrupted. "I want the magic art set from the commercial, the one with 1,000 markers." 1,000 seems excessive. "That's what Daddy said, but I think it's perfect." They all laughed, and for a moment Logan forgot about custody hearings and FBI investigations, and the fact that his entire life was held together with duct tape and hope. On Ellie's birthday, Serena showed up at the apartment carrying the magic art set, which actually only had 200 markers, not 1,000, and a chocolate cake from an expensive bakery that probably cost more than Logan spent on groceries in a week. "You didn't have to go this big," Logan said, staring at the cake. "It's her birthday. Kids remember birthdays." Still, they celebrated in the tiny apartment with streamers Logan had hung that morning and music from Ellie's favorite playlist. Mrs. Chen came, and Derek surprised them by showing up with his kids, 2 boys who immediately started running around with Ellie like they'd known her forever. It was chaotic and loud and messy, and Logan loved every second of it. Watching Serena help Ellie open the marker set, seeing her genuine excitement over crayon drawings and kid jokes, Logan realized something that scared him more than Marcus or Nathan, or any of it. He was falling for her. Not because she was beautiful or rich or damaged in ways that matched his own damage, but because she showed up. Because she sat on his floor playing with markers. Because she looked at Ellie like she mattered. Because she'd become part of their small, broken family without either of them planning it. Later, after everyone left and Ellie crashed hard from sugar overload, Logan and Serena stood in the kitchen cleaning up wrapping paper and cake crumbs. "Thank you for today," Logan said quietly. "You didn't have to do any of this." "I wanted to. Ellie's special. She thinks you're pretty great too." "Yeah?" Serena looked up from the garbage bag she was filling. "Yeah, she asked me yesterday if you were going to be her new mom." Serena froze. "What did you say?" "I said it's complicated, that we're friends, that you're helping us through a hard time." "Is that what we are? Friends?" Logan met her eyes across the tiny kitchen. "I don't know what we are, but I know I'm glad you're here." Serena set down the garbage bag and moved closer. "Logan, I need to tell you something." "That sounds ominous." "The FBI investigation. They're moving forward with charges against Nathan. They want me to testify." "That's good, right? You've got evidence." "It also means a trial, media coverage. Nathan's lawyer's trying to discredit me publicly." She took a breath. "They're going to dig into my relationship with you. Use it to claim I'm unstable or vindictive or whatever story helps Nathan." Logan's stomach dropped. "So the custody hearing and the trial will probably overlap." "Yeah, Serena looked miserable. I'm sorry, I'm making everything worse. You're not. Nathan is. Marcus is. You're just. Logan stopped, started again. You're just trying to do the right thing. Doesn't feel like it. Doing the right thing usually doesn't. If it felt good, everyone would do it. Serena smiled sadly. Is that something Sarah used to say? No, that's something I just figured out about 5 seconds ago. They stood in the dim kitchen, close enough to touch, but not touching, while Ellie's soft breathing drifted from her bedroom and Chicago hummed outside the window. I should go, Serena said finally. Let you get some sleep. Serena? Yeah? Whatever happens with the trial, with Marcus, with all of it, I'm not walking away. We're in this together now. Serena's eyes filled with tears she didn't let fall. You might regret that. Probably, but I'm doing it anyway. She left, and Logan stood alone in his apartment trying to figure out how his life had gone from quiet desperation to complete chaos in less than a month. His phone buzzed, text from an unknown number. You should have taken my offer. Now you'll lose everything. Nathan. Logan deleted it without responding and went to check on Ellie one more time before bed. She was sprawled across her mattress, clutching a marker in one hand and smiling in her sleep. And Logan made himself a promise. Whatever it took, whoever he had to fight, Ellie would grow up happy and safe and loved, even if it destroyed him in the process. The custody hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday morning in late February. Logan barely slept the night before, lying awake listening to Ellie's breathing through the wall and trying to memorize the sound in case it was the last time he'd hear it from the next room. Jennifer Park had prepared him as well as she could. They'd rehearsed questions, compiled evidence, built a case around 3 years of receipts and school records and photographs proving that Ellie was loved and cared for. But Marcus had money for better lawyers, and better lawyers knew how to twist truth into something ugly. Logan got up at 5 and made Ellie's favorite breakfast, chocolate chip pancakes shaped like stars. She came into the kitchen rubbing sleep from her eyes, her hair sticking up in every direction. Why are you making special breakfast? She asked, climbing into her chair. Because I love you, Logan said, flipping a pancake. Do I need another reason? You only make shapes when something's wrong. Logan's chest tightened. His daughter was too perceptive. Today's the court thing, remember? With Uncle Marcus. Ellie's face fell. Do I have to go? No, baby. You're staying with Mrs. Chen, going to school like normal. What if the judge says I have to live with Uncle Marcus? Logan abandoned the stove and crouched beside her chair, taking her small hands in his. That's not going to happen, I promise. You can't promise that, Daddy? You don't control judges. No, but I know you belong with me, and I'm going to make sure everyone else knows it too. Ellie threw her arms around his neck, and Logan held her so tight he worried he might break her. She smelled like sleep and strawberry shampoo and childhood, and the thought of losing her made him physically ill. I love you, Elle. More than anything in the world. Love you too, Daddy. He walked her to school himself, even though it meant being late to court. Watched her disappear into the building with her pink backpack bouncing, then stood on the sidewalk for a full minute trying to convince himself to move. His phone buzzed. Text from Serena. You've got this. Call me after. Logan pocketed his phone and headed to the courthouse. The building was all marble and echoes, the kind of place designed to make you feel small and insignificant. Marcus was already there with his lawyers, 2 sharp-suited men who looked like they ate single fathers for breakfast. Marcus himself wore an expensive coat and an expression of concerned righteousness that made Logan want to punch him. Jennifer met Logan in the hallway, looking tired but determined. Remember what we practiced. Answer honestly. Don't let them bait you. You're doing this for Ellie. What if it's not enough? It will be. Trust me. The hearing room was smaller than Logan expected. Just a judge's bench, a few chairs, and walls that seemed to close in with every breath. Judge Patricia Morrison was a woman in her 60s with gray hair and eyes that revealed nothing. She reviewed the files while everyone settled, then looked up. This is a petition for custody modification filed by Marcus Chen regarding his niece, Eleanor Hayes, currently in the sole custody of her father, Logan Hayes. Mr. Chen, your petition claims that Mr. Hayes is unable to provide a stable environment for the child. Please present your case. Marcus's lead attorney stood. a man named Richard Price, who probably charged more per hour than Logan made in a week. Your Honor, we're not claiming Mr. Hayes is intentionally negligent. We're simply concerned that his current circumstances make it impossible for him to adequately parent a 7-year-old child. Price laid out the evidence methodically. Logan's work schedule: 80-plus hours a week. The cramped apartment in a neighborhood with rising crime rates, the medical debt still outstanding from Sarah's treatment, the recent scandal involving his employer. Mr. Hayes has been photographed in compromising situations with Serena Vale, a woman currently under federal investigation for corporate fraud. That's not accurate, Jennifer interrupted. Ms. Vale is a witness in an investigation, not a subject. The distinction hardly matters when considering the environment surrounding this child. Mr. Hayes has demonstrated poor judgment in his associations and his ability to maintain appropriate boundaries. Logan forced himself to stay quiet, hands clenched under the table. Judge Morrison looked at the photographs. The handshake, a few others Logan hadn't seen before showing him and Serena leaving the hotel together, talking in the coffee shop. They looked intimate even though they weren't. Context didn't translate well in still images. Mr. Hayes, the judge said, can you explain your relationship with Ms. Vale? Logan stood, trying to keep his voice steady. She's my employer and my friend. She bought the hotel where I work, and we've become close because she's going through a difficult time. How close? Not romantically, if that's what you're asking. She's been helping me prepare for this hearing. She's met my daughter a few times, that's all. That's all? Price interjected. Your Honor, we have testimony from neighbors claiming Ms. Vale has been at Mr. Hayes' apartment late at night on multiple occasions, that she attended the child's birthday party, that they've been seen together around the city in situations that appear decidedly non-professional. Appearing a certain way doesn't make it true, Jennifer argued. Perhaps not, but it demonstrates a pattern of questionable decision-making that affects the child's welfare. The judge made a note. What about your work schedule, Mr. Hayes? The petition claims you're rarely home. I work long hours because I'm a single parent supporting a child on a maintenance worker's salary. But Ellie is never unsupervised. Mrs. Chen, our neighbor, watches her after school. I'm home for dinner most nights. I attend her school events when I can. Most nights? When I can. Price seized on the qualifiers. Your Honor, this child is being raised primarily by a neighbor, not her father. Mr. Hayes is absent more than he's present. That's not fair, Logan said, anger bleeding through. I'm doing everything I can. Everything except actually being there, Price interrupted. My client can provide Eleanor with a 2-parent household, stability, resources, a mother figure. Her mother is dead, Logan snapped. She doesn't need a replacement. She needs her father. Judge Morrison raised her hand. Mr. Hayes, I understand emotions are high, but I need facts, not feelings. Logan took a breath, tried to center himself. The facts are that Ellie is thriving. Her grades are excellent. Her teachers say she's happy and well-adjusted. She has friends. She has a home. Taking her away from that would be cruel. No one's suggesting cruelty, Marcus spoke for the first time, his voice dripping with false concern. I love my sister. I want what's best for her daughter, and right now what's best is not a father who's drowning in debt and scandal. Logan turned to face him. You didn't love Sarah. You didn't visit her when she was dying. You didn't come to the funeral. You didn't check on Ellie once in 3 years. This isn't about her welfare. This is about you wanting to feel important. That's enough, Judge Morrison said sharply. Mr. Hayes, control yourself. Jennifer put a warning hand on Logan's arm, but the damage was done. He'd let Marcus get under his skin, and now he looked unstable. Price smiled. Your Honor, this outburst demonstrates exactly what we're concerned about. Mr. Hayes is under tremendous stress, and it's affecting his judgment and behavior. The judge looked tired. I'm going to hear from the child's current caregiver. Mrs. Chen, please take the stand. Mrs. Chen had dressed up for court, wearing a suit that looked decades old but carefully maintained. She was nervous. English was her second language, and she kept twisting her hands. But her testimony was clear. Ellie was a good kid. Logan was a good father. They were a family. Does Mr. Hayes seem stressed to you? Price asked during cross-examination. Of course he's stressed. He's a single parent working too many hours for not enough money. Who wouldn't be stressed? Has that stress ever manifested in anger toward Eleanor? Never. Logan would die before hurting that girl. What about his relationship with Ms. Vale? Does that concern you? Mrs. Chen hesitated and Logan's heart sank. I think, Mrs. Chen said carefully, that Logan has been alone for a long time, and maybe having someone else who cares about him and Ellie isn't a bad thing. Even when that someone is involved in federal investigations? Ms. Vale isn't a criminal. She's a witness. There's a difference. Price didn't push further, but the seed was planted. Logan could see it in the judge's expression, doubt creeping in around the edges. Next came Ellie's teacher, Ms. Rodriguez, who testified that Ellie was doing well academically and socially. She had no concerns about the home environment. Has Ellie ever mentioned feeling unsafe or neglected? Jennifer asked. Never. She talks about her father constantly. It's clear she adores him. Has she mentioned Ms. Vale? A few times, yes. Always positively. She drew a picture of the three of them together last week. Price pounced on that. So the child sees Ms. Vale as a parental figure? I think she sees Ms. Vale as someone who's nice to her and her father. Children draw pictures of lots of people. The hearing dragged on for hours. Character witnesses, financial records, photographs and testimony, and endless procedural wrangling. By the time they broke for lunch, Logan felt like he'd been beaten with hammers. He sat in the hallway outside the courtroom, head in his hands, while Jennifer made calls and Marcus whispered with his lawyers nearby. Logan's phone buzzed. Text from Serena. How's it going? He called her instead of texting back. She answered immediately. Logan, what's happening? I don't know. It's bad. They're making me look like I'm neglecting Ellie, like I'm some kind of deadbeat using you for money. That's insane. They have photos, Serena, of us together, at the coffee shop, outside my apartment. They're saying we're involved, and it's affecting my judgment. Serena was quiet for a long moment. Then, I can fix this. How? I can testify, clarify our relationship, explain what really happened. No, absolutely not. That'll just make you part of the circus. I'm already part of it. Nathan made sure of that. Her voice was firm. Let me help, Logan. Let me do something useful for once. Your trial starts next week. You can't afford more media attention. I can't afford to let you lose Ellie because you helped me. Before Logan could argue further, Jennifer appeared. We're resuming in 5 minutes. You ready? Logan told Serena he had to go and hung up, feeling more helpless than ever. The afternoon session started with Marcus himself testifying. He painted a picture of concern and family duty, how he'd watched from afar as Logan struggled, how he'd wanted to help but Logan was too proud to accept, how he'd finally decided to intervene when the scandal broke because Ellie deserved better. It was all lies wrapped in just enough truth to sound convincing. I can give Eleanor stability, Marcus said, looking directly at the judge. 2 parents, a house with a yard, private school, everything Logan wants for her but can't provide. And you believe removing her from her father's care is in her best interest? Judge Morrison asked. I believe Logan loves Eleanor. But love isn't always enough. Sometimes children need more than good intentions. Logan wanted to scream, wanted to stand up and list every way Marcus was full of it, but Jennifer had warned him, outbursts only hurt his case. When it was Logan's turn to testify, he walked to the stand feeling like he was walking to his execution. Jennifer took him through the basics first, how Sarah died, how Logan had managed alone, how he and Ellie had built a life together from nothing. Tell me about a typical day with Eleanor, Jennifer said. Logan described their morning routine, pancakes or cereal depending on whether he'd slept, the walk to school, coming home to help with homework, making dinner together, reading before bed. It's not perfect, Logan admitted. I work too much. I'm tired a lot. The apartment's too small, but it's ours, and Ellie's happy there. How do you know she's happy? Because she tells me. Because she smiles when I pick her up from school. Because she still crawls into my bed during thunderstorms, even though she's getting too old for it. Logan's voice cracked. Because she's my daughter, and I know her. Price's cross-examination was brutal. You said you work too much. How much exactly? It varies. Sometimes 80 hours a week, sometimes more. And during those 80-plus hours, who's caring for Eleanor? Mrs. Chen, or she's at school or doing homework. So essentially, you're paying a neighbor to raise your child while you work. I'm working to provide for my child. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like Eleanor spends more time with Mrs. Chen than with you. That's not true. We have breakfast together every morning, dinner most nights, weekends, most nights, not every night. Weekends when you're not working doubles. Price consulted his notes. You've missed 2 school plays, 3 parent-teacher conferences, and Eleanor's field trip to the Science Museum, all in the past 6 months. Logan felt his face burn. I couldn't get time off. I tried. And yet you found time to help Ms. Vale, to attend meetings at the hotel, to be photographed having coffee with her at 6 in the morning. Serena needed help. So Ms. Vale's needs come before Eleanor's school events? That's not what I said. It's what you did, though. You prioritized a wealthy woman's personal problems over your daughter's education. I was trying to keep my job. A job where you work for a woman you claim to have no romantic involvement with, despite spending significant time together both professionally and personally. Logan looked at Jennifer, silently begging for help. She stood. Objection. Mr. Price is characterizing a friendship as something inappropriate without evidence. I'm establishing a pattern, Price countered. Mr. Hayes makes questionable decisions that prioritize his own interests over his daughter's welfare. Judge Morrison looked at Logan, and he saw the doubt there, saw how the narrative was being twisted from devoted father into selfish man-child. Mr. Hayes, the judge said, in your own words, explain your relationship with Ms. Vale. Logan took a breath, tried to find words that wouldn't make everything worse. Serena came into my life at a really dark moment for both of us. She'd just been humiliated publicly, and I'd been alone for 3 years trying to hold everything together. We helped each other, that's all. That's all? The judge didn't sound convinced. We're friends. She's been kind to Ellie. She's helped me navigate some complicated situations. But our relationship, whatever it is, doesn't take away from my ability to parent my daughter. Doesn't it? Because Mr. Price makes a valid point. You've been photographed with Ms. Vale multiple times. You've brought her into your home, into your daughter's life. At a minimum, it shows poor judgment given the media attention surrounding her. I didn't know there would be media attention. Logan stopped, started again. I just wanted Ellie to see that her father was still capable of caring about someone, that losing her mom didn't break me completely. The courtroom went quiet. For 3 years, Logan continued, voice shaking, I've been surviving, getting through each day without falling apart, making sure Ellie had everything she needed, even if I had nothing left. And yeah, maybe I made some mistakes. Maybe I worked too much or missed some events or let someone into our lives without thinking through all the consequences. But every single decision I made was about keeping us together, about making sure Ellie grew up knowing her father loved her more than anything. Judge Morrison's expression softened slightly. Mr. Hayes, no one is questioning your love for Eleanor, but this court has to consider what's in her best interest, not just emotionally, but practically. Her best interest is staying with me. That remains to be seen. The hearing adjourned for the day with nothing resolved. Judge Morrison would review all the testimony and issue a ruling within the week. Logan left the courthouse feeling gutted. Marcus brushed past him in the hallway without a word, and Logan was too tired to even feel angry anymore. Jennifer walked him to the parking lot. It's not over. We still have a chance. You don't actually believe that. I believe judges care about stability and love. You've demonstrated both. So has Marcus, apparently, except he's got money and a wife and all the things I can't give Ellie. He doesn't have 3 years of history. He doesn't have Ellie's love. Jennifer squeezed his shoulder. Go home. Be with your daughter. Wait for the ruling. Logan drove back to the apartment in a daze, picked up Ellie from Mrs. Chen's and held her too tight when she asked how it went. Fine, baby. Everything's fine. Ellie didn't believe him, but she didn't push. They made mac and cheese again and watched a movie neither of them paid attention to. And when Ellie finally fell asleep on the couch, Logan carried her to bed and then collapsed on his own mattress fully clothed. His phone rang. Serena. I saw the news, she said without preamble. They're saying the hearing didn't go well. They're saying I'm an unfit father who's more interested in sleeping with my boss than raising my kid. That's not true. Doesn't matter if it's true, it's what people believe. Logan, I can't do this right now, Serena. I'm too tired to reassure you that I don't regret helping you because honestly, right now I do. Silence on the other end, then quietly, I understand. I'm sorry. That came out wrong. No, you're right. I've made everything worse. I should have stayed away from you and Ellie. Should have handled my own mess without dragging you into it. Logan closed his eyes. I didn't mean that. Yes, you did. And it's fair. Serena's voice was thick with tears she wouldn't let fall. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I met you. I'm sorry I bought the hotel. I'm sorry I exist in a way that ruins everything you've built. Serena, get some sleep, Logan. I'll stay away from now on. Give you and Ellie space to rebuild without me complicating things. She hung up before he could respond. Logan lay in the dark, phone in his hand, and felt the loneliness crash back in like it had never left. For a few weeks, he'd forgotten what it felt like to carry everything alone, to have no one to talk to at the end of brutal days, to face judges and lawyers and Marcus's smug face without anyone in his corner. Serena had been that person, and he just pushed her away because he was scared and angry and looking for someone to blame. He should call her back, should apologize properly, should explain that fear made him cruel sometimes. But he was so tired. So instead, Logan closed his eyes and tried to sleep, knowing that in less than a week, a judge would decide whether he deserved to keep being Ellie's father. And there was nothing he could do now except wait. The next morning, Logan woke up to 17 missed calls, all from Derek. He called back, stomach already dropping. Where the hell have you been? Derek sounded panicked. Turn on the news, any channel. Logan grabbed the remote with shaking hands and turned on the small TV in his bedroom. Every news channel showed the same thing, Nathan Cross in handcuffs, being led out of his office building by FBI agents while cameras flashed and reporters shouted questions. The headline scrolling across the bottom read, Billionaire Nathan Cross arrested on federal fraud and racketeering charges. Former fiancée Serena Vale key witness in investigation. Logan's phone rang again. This time it was Serena. Don't freak out, she said immediately. Too late. What happened? The FBI moved up their timeline. They arrested Nathan this morning based on evidence I provided. It's going to trial next month. That's good, right? He's finally facing consequences. It's also going to be a media nightmare. His lawyers are already claiming I fabricated evidence because he broke up with me. They're going to drag my name through everything. Logan thought about the custody hearing, about Marcus's lawyers seizing on Serena's involvement as proof of Logan's poor judgment. This makes everything worse for me, doesn't it? Probably. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing for things you didn't do. Logan, there's something else. Nathan's legal team is planning to subpoena you. They want to prove I'm unstable by demonstrating I've been having an inappropriate relationship with an employee. They think you'll crack under questioning. Logan's blood went cold. When? Depositions start next week. You'll get a formal notice soon. I can't testify against you, Serena. I won't. You don't have a choice. If you refuse, they'll hold you in contempt. That looks even worse for the custody case. Logan sat on the edge of his bed, head in his hands, and tried to figure out how everything had fallen apart so completely. What do I do? You tell the truth, that we're friends, that I haven't manipulated or coerced you, that whatever we are, it's real. And if they twist that into something ugly, then at least it'll be honestly ugly instead of a lie. After they hung up, Logan got Ellie ready for school like everything was normal, like his entire life wasn't imploding in real time, like there was any chance he'd still be her father a week from now. At work, everyone stared. Derek pulled him aside in the maintenance room. Did you know? Derek asked. About the FBI thing? Some of it, not all. People are talking, man, saying you're caught up in Nathan's mess, that you're going to testify. I don't have a choice. Yeah, well, Marcus's lawyers are going to eat that alive. You know that, right? Logan knew. He spent the rest of the day going through the motions, fixing things that were broken and ignoring the whispers that followed him through the hotel. By the time his shift ended, he felt like he'd aged a decade. The formal subpoena arrived that evening, delivered by a courier who made Logan sign for it like he was accepting a package instead of his professional destruction. He read through the legal language, depositions, testimony, sworn statements, and felt the walls close in. Then his phone buzzed with an email from Jennifer Park. Subject: Judge's ruling. Logan's hands shook as he opened it. The judge had issued her decision early. No more waiting, no more uncertainty. The ruling was 8 pages of legal language that essentially said, custody remains with Logan Hayes, with one condition. Marcus Chen receives supervised visitation rights every other weekend, and the court will review the arrangement in 6 months to ensure Eleanor's welfare. Logan read it 3 times before the words actually registered. He'd won. Not completely, not perfectly. But Ellie was staying with him. He called Jennifer immediately. "You saw?" she asked. "I can't believe it. I thought—" The judge saw what mattered. "You're a good father. Marcus is a concerned relative." She split the difference. "He gets visitation, though. Supervised 2 weekends a month. You can live with that." Logan could live with anything that kept Ellie in his home. He hung up and immediately went to Ellie's room, where she was doing homework at her desk. "Hey, baby, got some news." Ellie looked up, eyes wide. "What news?" "The judge said you're staying with me. Uncle Marcus can visit sometimes, but you're not going anywhere." Ellie's face crumpled, and she launched herself at Logan, crying into his chest. Not sad tears. Relief tears. Fear finally releasing. "I was so scared, Daddy." "Me too, Elle. Me too." They held each other while the apartment settled around them, and for the first time in weeks, Logan let himself believe things might actually be okay. Then he remembered Serena. He called her and she answered on the first ring. "I won," Logan said. "The custody case, I won." Serena's exhale was audible. "Logan, that's incredible. I'm so happy for you. I couldn't have done it without you. The schedule changes, the character reference, all of it. You would have won anyway. You're her father." "Maybe. But it helped having someone believe in me." Silence on the line. Then Serena said quietly, "I meant what I said about staying away. Now that the custody thing is settled, you don't need me making your life harder." "What if I want you making my life harder?" "Logan, I'm serious. These past few weeks have been a nightmare, but they've also been the first time since Sarah died that I felt like I wasn't drowning alone." Logan took a breath. "I know the trial's going to be messy. I know Nathan's lawyers are going to try to destroy both of us, but I'd rather face that with you than face easy things alone." "You don't mean that." "I do. And I think you know I do." Serena was crying now. He could hear it in her breathing. "I don't deserve that kind of loyalty." "Yeah, you do. You just haven't had anyone offer it before." "What about Ellie? What does she think?" Logan looked at his daughter, still clinging to him, and made a decision. "Elle, you want Serena to come over for dinner tonight? Celebrate the good news?" Ellie pulled back, wiping her eyes. "Really? Really?" "Yes, can we make the fancy pasta, the kind with the vegetables?" Logan laughed. "We can try. No promises, it'll be edible." Into the phone, he said, "You heard her. Dinner at 7. Bring wine if you want. We're celebrating." "Logan, are you sure?" "I'm sure. Get over here before I change my mind." Serena showed up at 7:15 carrying flowers for Ellie and wine for Logan, and looking nervous in a way that made her seem younger than 27. They made pasta together, the 3 of them crowding the tiny kitchen, and it was chaotic and imperfect and exactly what Logan needed. Over dinner, with Ellie chattering about school and Serena laughing at Logan's terrible cooking, Logan realized something that should have scared him, but didn't. He was building a family again, not the one he'd lost. Something different. Something that didn't erase Sarah but honored her by proving that loving again was possible. Later, after Ellie went to bed, Logan and Serena sat on the couch with the TV on mute, not really watching, just existing in the same space. "The deposition is Thursday," Serena said quietly. "Nathan's lawyers are going to ask about us. I'll tell them the truth." "Which is?" Logan looked at her. This complicated, brilliant, damaged woman who'd stumbled into his life during a snowstorm and refused to leave even when staying was dangerous. "That you're the first person in 3 years who made me remember what hope feels like, and that whatever label we put on that, it's worth fighting for." Serena leaned her head on his shoulder, and Logan wrapped his arm around her, and they sat like that while Chicago glowed outside the window, and the future loomed uncertain but not quite as terrifying as before. Whatever came next, Nathan's trial, the depositions, the media circus, they'd face it together. And maybe that was enough. The deposition took place in a conference room that smelled like expensive leather and fear. Nathan's legal team had assembled an army, 4 lawyers in suits that probably cost more than Logan's car used to back when he could afford a car. They sat across from him like judges at an execution, notepads open, recording devices running. Logan's own lawyer was just Jennifer Park, who'd shown up in her best suit looking determined but outmatched. Serena wasn't allowed in the room. Federal rules. She waited outside in the hallway, and Logan could feel her worry through the walls. The lead attorney was a woman named Victoria Chen. No relation to Mrs. Chen, though Logan almost laughed at the coincidence. Victoria had the kind of smile that never reached her eyes. "Mr. Hayes, thank you for joining us today. This shouldn't take long if you're honest with us." "I'm always honest," Logan said. "We'll see." Victoria opened her file. "How did you meet Serena Vale?" Logan explained the rooftop, the snowstorm, carrying her inside. It sounded absurd saying it out loud in this sterile room, like he was describing a movie instead of something that had actually happened to him. "And you gave her your jacket?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because she was freezing and I'm not a monster." "Very noble. And when did the relationship become romantic?" "It didn't." Victoria raised an eyebrow. "Mr. Hayes, we have photographs of you two together, holding hands, embracing, spending time alone. We're friends. Friends hug sometimes. Friends don't usually buy struggling hotels to be close to each other. She didn't buy the hotel for me. She bought it because she needed something that was hers, according to you. But from where we're sitting, it looks like Ms. Vale became obsessed with you after you helped her, that she used her wealth to insert herself into your life. Would you say that's accurate?" Jennifer interrupted. "Objection. That's not a question. It's a narrative. I'm establishing Mr. Hayes' perspective on their relationship. My perspective," Logan said, "is that Serena needed help and I gave it. Then she helped me back. That's called being human." Victoria smiled. "Is it human to accept thousands of dollars in benefits from someone you're not involved with? Adjusted work schedules, legal representation, access to resources you couldn't otherwise afford?" Logan's jaw tightened. "She gave those things to all the employees, not just me. But you received special treatment, private meetings, personal attention, invitations to her office that other staff members didn't get. Because we became friends. Because she trusted me. Or because she was using you to build a narrative for this trial. Making herself look sympathetic by associating with a struggling single father. That's not what happened." "No? Then explain why Ms. Vale's marketing budget specifically allocated funds for PR campaigns focused on employee welfare and personal redemption stories." Logan felt trapped. Every answer he gave was being twisted into something ugly. "I don't know about marketing budgets. I fix elevators. Yet somehow you ended up at the center of Ms. Vale's public image rehabilitation. Quite a coincidence." The questions went on for 3 hours. They asked about every interaction Logan had with Serena, every text message, every phone call, every moment they'd spent together. They asked about Ellie, about whether Serena had tried to manipulate him through his daughter. They asked about the custody hearing, implying that Serena had orchestrated the whole thing to make herself look good. By the time they finished, Logan felt like he'd been put through a shredder. "One last question, Mr. Hayes," Victoria said as they were packing up. "Do you love Serena Vale?" Logan looked at her, at the recording devices still running, at Jennifer's warning expression. "I care about her," he said carefully. "She's important to me." "That's not what I asked." "It's the answer you're getting." Victoria smiled like she'd won something. "Thank you for your time, Mr. Hayes. We'll be in touch if we need clarification." Logan left the conference room feeling like he'd just run a marathon through broken glass. Serena was waiting in the hallway, looking small and worried. "How bad?" she asked. "Pretty bad. They're going to use everything we said to each other against you. I'm sorry." "Stop apologizing. Let's just get out of here." They went to a diner 3 blocks away, the kind of place with sticky tables and coffee that tasted like burnt rubber. Logan ordered pie he didn't want, and Serena ordered tea she didn't drink, and they sat in silence for a long time. "They asked if I love you," Logan said finally. Serena looked up sharply. "What did you say?" "That I care about you, that you're important to me." "Why didn't you just say no?" Because I'm a terrible liar. Logan pushed his pie around the plate. And because the honest answer is more complicated than yes or no. Logan, I spent 3 years convinced I'd never feel anything for anyone again. That Sarah took that part of me when she died. Then you showed up in a snowstorm and proved me wrong. He met her eyes. I don't know if that's love, but it's something. And Nathan's lawyers are going to turn it into evidence that you're manipulating me. Maybe I am, Serena said quietly. Maybe just by existing in your life, I'm hurting you. Or maybe you're saving me from drowning in grief. Ever think of that? You're not drowning anymore. You won the custody case. You've got Ellie. You don't need me complicating things. Logan reached across the table and took her hand. What if I want the complications? That's insane. Probably, but I've spent 3 years playing it safe and all it got me was lonely. Maybe it's time to be a little insane. Serena squeezed his hand, tears in her eyes. The trial starts in 2 weeks. It's going to get worse before it gets better. I know. Nathan's going to try to destroy both of us. Let him try. The trial became a media circus exactly like Serena predicted. Cameras camped outside the courthouse. Reporters shouting questions whenever Logan or Serena appeared. Every detail of their lives dissected in headlines and social media posts. Logan tried to shield Ellie from it, but kids at school had phones and parents who watched the news. She came home one day with questions Logan didn't know how to answer. Katie's mom says Serena is a bad person. Is that true? Logan knelt down to Ellie's level. Serena made some hard choices. She told the truth about someone powerful doing bad things, and now he's trying to make her look like the villain. But no, baby, she's not a bad person. Are you going to marry her? Where did that come from? Katie's mom said you're probably going to marry her for money. But I don't think you would do that. You don't care about money. Logan pulled Ellie into a hug. I'm not marrying anyone for money, and Katie's mom doesn't know what she's talking about. But do you like Serena? Like grown-up like? Yeah, Elle, I do. Good. Because she makes you smile again, and Mom would want you to smile. The trial itself was worse than the depositions. Logan had to testify about his relationship with Serena in front of a courtroom full of people and cameras. Nathan's lawyers tried to paint him as either a gold digger or a naive victim, depending on which narrative suited them better. But Serena's lawyers fought back. They presented evidence of Nathan's fraud, his manipulation, the shell companies, and offshore accounts. They showed how Nathan had orchestrated the media campaign against Serena and Logan to discredit her testimony. The turning point came when they called David Winters to the stand, the hotel employee who'd been taking photos. Under oath, he admitted Nathan had paid him $5,000 for compromising images and promised him a job at Cross Enterprises if he could prove Serena was unstable. And did you find any evidence of instability? Serena's lawyer asked. No, Winters admitted, looking miserable. Just a woman trying to run a hotel and help her employees. The trial lasted 3 weeks. 3 weeks of testimony and evidence and legal arguments that made Logan's head hurt. 3 weeks of watching Nathan sit at the defense table looking smug while his empire crumbled around him. The verdict came on a Tuesday afternoon in March. The jury found Nathan Cross guilty on 14 counts of fraud, 6 counts of money laundering, and 2 counts of witness tampering. The judge sentenced him to 12 years in federal prison. Logan watched Nathan's face as the sentence was read, watched the smugness finally crack into something like fear, and felt a savage satisfaction. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Serena gave a brief statement about justice and accountability, her voice steady even though Logan could see her hands shaking. Then they pushed through the crowd to where a car was waiting. It's over, Serena said once they were inside, doors closed against the noise. It's actually over. How do you feel? Exhausted. Relieved. Terrified that I just spent 6 months of my life fighting a man who's already stolen too much of it. He's going to prison, Serena. You won. Did I? Because I look around and see what it cost. Your reputation, your privacy. Ellie's peace. The hotel's barely staying afloat because I've been too focused on the trial to actually run it. So we fix it, starting now. We? Logan took her hand. You really think I'm walking away after all this? Serena laughed, shaky and wet. You should. Any sane person would. Good thing I'm not sane. They went back to the hotel together. Staff was waiting in the lobby. Derek and Mrs. Chen, and a dozen others who'd stuck by them through the trial. Someone had made a banner that said, "Welcome back, boss," with absolutely terrible handwriting. Serena started crying for real then, and Derek awkwardly patted her shoulder while Mrs. Chen made tea, and everyone pretended not to notice that their billionaire boss was having a breakdown in the middle of the marble lobby. Over the next few months, things slowly stabilized. The media moved on to newer scandals. The hotel's finances improved as Serena actually focused on running the business instead of fighting legal battles. Logan got promoted to facilities manager, not because Serena favored him, but because Derek insisted he deserved it and the staff agreed. Marcus kept his visitation rights, taking Ellie every other weekend like the judge ordered. Logan hated it at first, but Ellie came back happy enough, and eventually he accepted that having more family wasn't actually a bad thing, even when that family was complicated. The biggest change was Serena herself. She moved out of her Lincoln Park mansion and into a smaller apartment in Pilsen, 3 blocks from Logan's building. Started taking the train to work like a normal person. Learned to cook simple meals that didn't require a private chef. "I'm probably doing this wrong," she told Logan one evening. They were in her new kitchen trying to make stir-fry while Ellie did homework at the counter. The whole normal person thing. "There's no right way to be normal," Logan said, rescuing vegetables before they burned. "You just figure it out as you go. Is that what we're doing? Figuring it out?" "Seems like it." Ellie looked up from her math homework. "Are you two dating now? Like, officially?" Logan and Serena exchanged glances. "Do you want us to be?" Logan asked his daughter. Ellie considered this seriously. "I think so, but only if you're not going to be weird about it." "Weird how?" "Like kissing in front of me all the time. Katie's parents do that, and it's gross." Serena laughed. "We'll keep the kissing to a minimum." "Good. Can I have a snack?" They figured it out slowly. Date nights when Mrs. Chen could watch Ellie. Family dinners at whichever apartment had the least broken appliances. Weekends at the hotel where Ellie loved riding the service elevators and pretending to be a hotel inspector. It wasn't perfect. Logan still worked too much. Serena still carried guilt about everything that had happened. They argued about money and schedules and how to handle Ellie's questions about their relationship. But it was real. Messy and complicated and real. 6 months after the trial ended, Serena called a staff meeting at the hotel. Everyone gathered in the conference room where Logan had first shaken her hand, where someone had taken that photograph that started everything. "I've made a decision," Serena announced. "The Blackstone Grand is becoming employee-owned." Silence. Then Derek said, "What does that mean exactly?" "It means I'm restructuring ownership so every employee gets equity shares. Profits get distributed quarterly. You'll have voting rights on major decisions. You'll actually own part of this place." "Why would you do that?" someone asked. Because I learned something over the past year. Wealth doesn't mean anything if you build it by standing on other people. And I'm tired of being the only person who benefits when we all do the work. The room erupted into questions and excited chatter. Logan caught Serena's eye across the conference table and she smiled. That real, unguarded smile he'd first seen in the employee break room at midnight. Later, after everyone else had left, they stood together in the empty conference room. "You're insane," Logan said. "You know that, right? Giving away your hotel." "I'm not giving it away, I'm sharing it. There's a difference. Your investors are going to lose their minds." "Good. They've had their minds for too long. Time for them to lose them a little." Logan pulled her close, and she came willingly, resting her head against his chest. Outside the windows, Chicago sparkled in the autumn darkness, and Logan thought about how far they'd both come from that freezing night on the rooftop. "Thank you," Serena said quietly. "For what?" "For catching me when I fell. For not giving up on me when you should have. For teaching me that some things are worth more than money." "You taught me some things too." "Yeah?" "Like what?" "That surviving isn't the same as living. That letting people in doesn't make you weak. That hope isn't stupid, it's just scary." Serena pulled back to look at him. "Are you scared now?" "Terrified. But I'm also happier than I've been in 4 years, so I'm thinking the fear is worth it." "Even with all the complications?" "Especially with the complications." They kissed in that conference room where it had all started, and Logan thought about Sarah, about the wife he'd lost and the promise he'd made to keep living. He thought she'd approve of this, of Serena, of the messiness, of the fact that Logan had finally stopped punishing himself for surviving. Christmas that year was chaos. Ellie insisted on decorating both apartments, which meant twice the mess and twice the terrible homemade ornaments. Marcus came for Christmas Eve dinner, awkward but trying, and Serena's mother showed up unannounced with expensive gifts and opinions about everything. They all crammed into Logan's tiny apartment because it had the better tree, and at some point Derek and Mrs. Chen joined too. And suddenly, it wasn't just dinner, it was a party with too many people and not enough chairs, an absolutely perfect disaster. Ellie loved every second of it. "This is the best Christmas ever," she announced, wearing a paper crown she'd made at school and eating her third cookie. "Even better than when Mom was here." The room went quiet. Logan felt his chest tighten. But Ellie kept talking, oblivious to the tension. "Because Mom was sick that Christmas and couldn't really play. But this Christmas everyone's happy. I think she'd like that." Logan looked around the room, at Serena helping Derek fix the string lights, at Marcus teaching Mrs. Chen some card game, at his daughter who'd somehow grown wise beyond her years. "Yeah, baby," he said, voice rough. "I think she'd like it too." Later, after everyone left and Ellie finally crashed from sugar overload, Logan and Serena sat on the floor surrounded by wrapping paper and dishes that needed washing. "Your daughter's amazing," Serena said. "I know. I didn't do anything to deserve her." "Yes, you did. You showed up every day. You loved her even when everything was falling apart. You taught her that grief doesn't have to break you." "She taught me that too, I think." Logan picked up one of Ellie's drawings from the coffee table, a picture of their makeshift family, everyone holding hands under a Christmas tree. "I spent so long trying to survive that I forgot kids are watching how we handle the hard stuff. Ellie learned how to keep going because I kept going, even when I wanted to quit." "Are you glad you didn't quit?" Logan looked at Serena, at this woman who'd stumbled into his life broken and afraid, who'd somehow become essential to his daughter's happiness and his own sanity. "Yeah, I'm glad." "Me too." They fell asleep on the couch that night, wrapped in blankets that Ellie had draped over them at some point, and when Logan woke up at 3 a.m. with a crick in his neck, he didn't move because Serena was still sleeping against his shoulder and he didn't want to wake her. The next year brought more changes. The hotel thrived under employee ownership. Serena launched a nonprofit focused on helping single parents with job training and childcare assistance. Logan taught himself basic management skills and started mentoring new maintenance workers. Ellie turned 9, then 10, started asking harder questions about life and death and why some people had more than others. Logan and Serena tried to answer honestly, teaching her that fairness was something you built, not something the world handed you. They moved in together eventually, into a bigger apartment with room for Ellie to have her own space, and for Logan's terrible furniture, and for Serena's books that she'd finally unpacked from storage. It wasn't fancy. The radiator still clanged, the neighbors were still loud, but it was theirs. On the anniversary of the night they met, 2 years after the rooftop, after the trial, after everything, Logan took Serena back to the hotel's rooftop. They'd renovated it into an event space, all glass and lights and warmth. "Remember when you thought I was going to jump?" Serena asked, looking out at the city. "Remember when you passed out and I had to carry you downstairs? My hero." She was teasing, but there was affection underneath it. "What would you do differently? If you could go back to that night?" Logan thought about it, about the jacket he'd given her, the choice to help instead of walk away, every decision that had led them here. "Nothing," he said. "I wouldn't change anything." "Not even the parts where Nathan tried to destroy us?" "Not even those, because they taught us what we were made of." Serena leaned into him and Logan wrapped his arms around her, feeling the cold wind and remembering another winter night when they'd both been broken in different ways. "I love you," Serena said quietly. "I know I don't say it enough, but I do." "I know. I love you too. Even though I made your life incredibly complicated?" Especially because of that, simple is overrated. They stood on that rooftop while snow started to fall. Not a blizzard this time, just gentle flakes that caught in Serena's hair and melted on Logan's coat. Below them, Chicago hummed with life, millions of people fighting their own battles, carrying their own grief, hoping for their own small miracles. Logan thought about the man he'd been 2 years ago, exhausted, alone, convinced that survival was the best he could hope for. He thought about Sarah and the promise he'd made to keep living. He thought about Ellie watching how her father handled heartbreak and choosing hope anyway. And he realized something that Sarah had probably known all along. You don't survive tragedy by making yourself small and invisible. You survive by showing up anyway, by helping strangers in snowstorms, by accepting help when it's offered, by building something new from broken pieces, by refusing to let pain have the final word. "What are you thinking about?" Serena asked. "That Ellie was right, about you making me smile again." "Good, because you make me smile too. Even when I burn dinner?" "Especially then." They went back downstairs where Ellie was waiting with Mrs. Chen, and the four of them went out for pizza because nobody felt like cooking. It was ordinary and perfect, and exactly the kind of life Logan had stopped believing was possible. That night, after Ellie fell asleep and Serena was reading in bed beside him, Logan thought about writing down everything that had happened, about how a maintenance worker and a billionaire had found each other during the worst moments of their lives and built something that mattered. But then he realized the story wasn't about a dramatic rescue or a fairy tale ending. It was about two broken people choosing each other every day, even when it was hard, even when the world told them they didn't make sense together. It was about a little girl learning that family could be chosen, not just inherited, that loving someone new didn't erase the people you'd lost. It was about the small, stubborn decision to keep going when everything said stop. Logan fell asleep that night thinking about hope, not the shiny, perfect kind from movies, but the messy, complicated kind that real people built from whatever materials they had left. The kind that showed up in frozen rooftops and custody hearings and employee-owned hotels. The kind that took a man who'd given a stranger his only jacket and turned that moment into a family. And somewhere in the darkness, Logan could almost hear Sarah's voice telling him what she'd said in that hospital room 4 years ago. "Don't let this break you. Don't let it make you small." He hadn't, and now, finally, he understood what she'd meant. Living wasn't about avoiding pain. It was about transforming it into something that helped other people survive their own darkness. It was about carrying your scars honestly while still reaching out to catch someone else when they fell. It was about being the person your daughter needed you to be, even when you didn't know how. It was about second chances and messy families and the revolutionary act of choosing hope when despair would be so much easier. Logan pulled Serena closer, listened to Ellie's breathing through the wall, and let himself believe that maybe, just maybe, they'd all finally found their way home.